Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Dear Prof. Roy and audience, here we are from Group 1, Dare to Make Mistakes, representing one of our final assignments, event analysis of a recent company IPO. Next. First and foremost, we would like to thank Prof. Roy and appreciate our colleagues for your guidance, support, and everything. We wouldn't have been able to do this without your guidance. And our group is Group 1, Dare to Make Mistakes, which consists of Avan, Ariela, Emilani, Gita Narendra, Rizky, and Yudian. And our company is PT Cisarua Mountain Dairy or Cimori. So the executive summary presents the condition of the company. And since December 6, 2021, Cimori has been listed on the Indonesia Stock Exchange. The company issued 15% of new shares in its initial public offering. The estimated amount proceeds from this IPO is around 3.6 trillion rupiah, and 83% of it is used for capital expenditure. And surprisingly, the COVID-19 had no significant impact on the operational activities of the company based on the company's audited report on 30th June 2021. And in 2019, the company also launched new product lines named Kanzier and UHT Milk, which makes this IPO more interesting. Next. So these are the outlines of this event analysis. Next. Yeah, next. Yeah, the company was established in 2004 by Theodorus Cornelius Johannes Swart and Mr. Bambang Sutantio, which is still become the main shareholders of the company, the controlling shareholders of the company. And to become a public company, the company amended its name from PT Cisarua Mountain Dairy to PT Cisarua Mountain Dairy Tbk, based on deed number 35 dated 18 August 2021. Next. So the company main purposes and objective was to perform the following activities: processing industry, agriculture, wholesale and retail trade, and field of transportation and warehousing. Next. So the company management consists of 6 BOD members and 3 BOC members. The controlling shareholders of the company is the president commissioner of the company. And these are the company shareholder structure prior to IPO. As you can see, Bambang Sutantio was the controlling shareholders of the company, and other BOD members are also the shareholders of the company. Next. This is the IPO structure and schedule. So the IPO was listed on 6 December 2021, and the offering period was 30 November to December 2021. The underwriters are, sorry, can you go back? The underwriters are PT Mandiri Sekuritas, CLSA, and Panin Sekuritas. The offering price of the IPO was 3,080 rupiah per IPO share for 1,190,000,000 new shares. So the IPO value was around 3.6 trillion rupiah. Next. The IPO use of proceeds consists of usage for CAPEX and OPEX. 80% of the use of proceeds was used for the capital expenditure and 17% for operational expenditure. Some of them are used for increasing the capacity of production facilities such as properties, factory, and equipment. And some were used also to inject more capital in the company subsidiary, and 7% is for daily operation expenditure of the company. Yeah, thank you. Next, Gita, please. It's still mute, Gita. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Gita, and I'll be analyzing the economy side of the IPO. So we see that the dairy products in Indonesia have a very positive trend. The research institute Euromonitor revealed that the nutritional product categories such as yogurt and milk showed positive growth prospect for the market. Consumption of dairy products in Indonesia tends to grow. Although the level of milk consumption per capita in Indonesia is in 2020, according to research by Euromonitor, is still $6. Dairy product consumption is lower amongst Asian countries. This amount is still lower than a number of other Asian countries such as Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. This condition will be an opportunity and have a good business prospect for the dairy industry in Indonesia, whose per capita consumption level is expected to almost double to US dollars 11.7 by 2025. So as we can see, the prospect is really high. And now we can see from the fact that there is a demand for nutritional product, but the supply has been insufficient due to the reason that sources have been from small farms and we have been importing from other countries. Now, we know that milk is a basic necessity as the domestic producer is incapable to match the demand earlier. From this capital gain of selling share, Cimory has the upper hand in increasing production and will be able to reach more people in Indonesia. We can see from the law of demand and supply. When the amount firms are willing to produce and sell goes up at all possible prices, the supply curve shifts down to the right. This is an increase in supply. The quantity supplied is larger at all possible prices. So we can see that it moves from S1 to S2. An increase in supply caused the equilibrium price to fall and the equilibrium quantity to rise. We can see from the diagram earlier. Now, when we know that company is doing well, okay, we need to also be conscious that we look into the positive and negative externalities. By increasing the production and distribution, Cimory is imposing a positive externality to the stakeholder. One example we can take from this scenario is that more people in the area will be employed due to this expansion, and hence there will be a decrease in unemployment rate. Cimory uses the triple line costing, which is economic, community, and environmental. As we know the factory emits pollution, Cimory has made a conscious effort to eliminate carbon emission. This expansion will benefit the external shareholders, example, the government and local communities. Due to the fact that we can see from the diagram that positive externality is produced, the marginal social cost lies below the marginal private cost. The diagram illustrates positive production externalities. As we can see that the social optimal level of production of these goods should be at Q star. However, there is an underallocation of resources and thus there is output at Q1. With the capital gain increase, we're assuming Cimory will be able to produce at Q star. Now, we know that we import from another country. When Indonesia is able to produce it, why would we import? So there will be less imported product and people will start consuming local, i.e. Cimory. Hence, this will increase the current account of the country as export will be greater than import. Other countries like Malaysia and Thailand will start importing Cimory from another country anymore as sufficient supply from the local firms is available. This will in turn increase the gross domestic product of the country, which leads to economic growth. As mentioned earlier, the capital gain from selling stock shares will be used to increase the production and distribution of nutritional products, the milk and yogurt. This will increase the demand for jobs in this field, hence reduce the unemployment rate in the country. In turn, there will be an increase in the disposable income, which leads to consumer demanding for more goods and services. When AD increase, the country will benefit from economic growth. Now, we know that the corporate income tax rate in Indonesia is 22%. It was supposed to be lowered to 20% in 2022, but the government decided to cancel this reduction. This may impact the company from fiscal side policy. At the fiscal year 2021, the CIT rate in Indonesia is 22. Before, it was 25%. Here we can see the reduction in CIT. When there's a reduction in CIT, it means the company has more money to invest, which in turn leads to an increase in investment spending. It is a component of AD. As we know that AD is C plus I plus G X minus M, which is consumption, investment, government spending, export, and import. Investment means capital in expenditure, purchasing machines and building bigger factories. We can assume that investment spending takes about 15% of AD. It is not significant as consumer spending, which is 61%. If investment increase, then ceteris paribus, our aggregate demand will also increase. Now, we can see the effect of investment in short-term and long-term. The increase in aggregate demand will lead to higher economic growth and a possibility of inflation. If there is a spare capacity in the economy, an increase in investment could cause a knock-on effect throughout the economy. The initial increase in investment causes a rise in output, and so people gain more income, which and then spend, causing for further rise in AD. With the strong multiplier effect, there may be a bigger increase in AD in the long term. Now, when we see the effect of aggregate supply in the long run, in the long term, an increase in investment should also increase productive capacity and increase in aggregate supply. Therefore, investment can enable a more sustainable increase in the AD, and hence the long-run aggregate supply curve will move to the right. And this can help increase in the long-run trend of economic growth. Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Gita. My name is Emilani. I will lead you to help us understand the industry trends and analysis. First, we start from the dairy products that Cimory produce. First, we know actually the industry trend in the dairy products are on growing demand. It's aligned to the increment of healthy lifestyle and the middle income populations. We see from the chart, actually, the market size of the dairy products are growing significantly from 2016, which around 50.6 trillion to become 23.9 trillion in 2022. And they are projected to be double in the next 3 years with a CAGR 11.3% for the next 3 years up to 2025. And we know also that the modern trade as the main distributor channel, which cites Indomaret, Alfamart, and the other modern trade, actually has contributed significantly to the increment of the dairy products. They are as a main distributor for fresh milk and yogurt products. The total around 37,000 modern retail outlets contribute to the 95% from all the dairy products market. The third one is the huge opportunity ahead that we can see. Gita has explained before that Indonesia dairy consumptions per capita is much lesser compared to the industry in the neighborhood countries. It is projected to be doubled by 2025. If we consider the total population of Indonesia is much higher compared to their neighborhood countries, it means that there's huge potential for Indonesia market in the future. So actually, this is a huge opportunity ahead for dairy products in Indonesia. And then the fourth one is the flavor milk and yogurt has an advantageous in Indonesian's market because most populations are love to choose the flavor milk and the flavor yogurt instead of the plain milk. Flavor milk contributes around 68% from milk category with a CAGR 13.4%. It's higher than a plain and fresh milk. Meanwhile, the distributor expansions trigger and benefit the yogurt products to grow by 3 times from 2016 to 2022, coming from 0.7 trillion to become 2.3 trillion. And the new product which is coming in is the spoon yogurt is the main growth driver with around 52.1 CAGR. Next, please. Here we can see actually the driver of the industry trend and also the inhibitor. There's some increment of family incomes and new products coming in actually significant contribute to the CAGR growth of these industries. But also, as been explained before, COVID-19 actually triggered a healthy lifestyle in Indonesia. Pandemic has induced a significant health awareness, including immune boosters products, vitamins, and also yogurt and milk. The dairy products, high protein consumptions as a digestive health has a significantly increase in the urban city especially. The third one as the market driver is digital marketing and e-commerce. Most of the big players such Cimory, Diamonds, and Greenfields, they focus how to build up the market awareness and also the brand through digital marketing channels. And the target market is the younger demographic populations. The fourth one is the dairy products demand increase because of the urban lifestyle such coffee has accelerated actually the daily products demands such Starbucks, Kopi Kenangan, and so forth. That's actually around all the market drivers from the dairy products. But there are several inhibitors around these dairy products, which is we know the limitations of the cold chain distributions in Indonesia, especially in the rural area. Cold chain distributions is quite challenging. The limited distributions and lack of infrastructure for the cold chain products in remote area become a challenge for fresh milk and yogurt products. Hence, only a big city will get the benefit. And then the price sensitivity. We know the lower income and the lack of buying power in the rural area actually leads to the inhibit the dairy products market. And we know actually fresh milk and yogurt also categorized as premium products. The last one, we know actually the local production's limitations in dairy products. The local production's capacities can only capture around 22% from the total national demands in 2019. The dairy imported products, most likely coming from US, New Zealand, and Australia, are still taking the big portions in Indonesia market. In addition to that, the food importations, bureaucracy, sanitation certifications, halal certifications will also creating another burden to the industries. Next slide, please. Here, actually, we can see the competitive environments. We see the name of quite famous and big players in the dairy products, which we have Nestle Indonesia, Ultra Jaya Milk Industries, Frisian Flex Indonesia, and Greenfield. In yogurt segments, several players such Cimory, Greenfield, and Diamonds are dominating most likely around more than 50% of the markets from the market shares. Cimory spoonable yogurts contribute around 71.9% market share. Is a very significant market share compared to the rest of these competitors. But we see actually there's a new players coming in, brought a new color in the competition, such PT ABC, Kogen Dairy, their product's name is Kin. They launched their product by 2019, and also PT Yoich, their name product is Yoich. The competitions trigger more innovative products upcoming, and also actually a new innovative way in conducting their marketing and promotions channel. So Cimory launched recently the Cimory yogurt pouch into 2019. We can see actually the top 5 players, especially in the yogurt drink market. Cimory take the biggest portions of the market share, around 50.3% market share. But in spoonable yogurt market, Cimory leads by 71.9%. And in the plain fresh milk in Indonesia, Cimory take the 4th positions with only 4.3% market share. It means that there's a huge opportunity for Cimory in the future, especially also for the fresh milk in Indonesia. Next slide, please. From the dairy milk industry, then we can move to the meat processed products, which is the second core products of the Cimory, which is we know that under the name of Kanzlers. There's a growing faster in the market in the meat processed products. It's supported by economic growth and the agreement of middle up populations. And also meat processed products as a raw meat replacers for a younger choice of family, the choice of the families. So we see the total market is around 15.8 trillion by 2022 with the CAGR around 5.7% and still projected to grow by 3.4% in 2025. The frozen processed meat the value is around 7.4 trillion in 2016, becoming 9.4 trillion in 2022 with a CAGR 6.0%. And the cold processed meats from 2.0 trillion in 2016 to become 2.4 trillion. The second part is actually we see the meat processed products has a longer shelf life and more practical for the users, for the customers. During pandemic, when lockdown happened, the distributions we know had an issue. So processed meat become a better choice since its storage life is longer compared to the raw meat. And then the third one is pretty similar to the industry trend of the dairy milks, because of the modern trade growing, actually as the main distributor channel from dairy products and also the meat process, it also triggered the growth for the meat process industries. Next slide, please. Here the driver and distributor for meat processes products. It had been explained before, the more practical and ready to cook meat is also a new lifestyle for most the younger families. More practical to carry on in any places, in office, in the schools, and also a trend of self-cooking at home since pandemic, actually as a new lifestyle in the future. The second part is the growing income and change of behavior of the Indonesian populations. The total meat consumptions of Indonesia is increasing. And as a background, better income, better wealth awareness is also a critical driver for meat demand, considering its cost higher than the vegetable. The third one is product innovation and infections. We know the innovations from the meat processed products and also as a main driver for the demands, such as dim sums from Fiesta, sausage singles from Kanzlers, and the others are products, the new products innovations. And here actually pretty similar market inhibitors such dairy products, it's price sensitive because in the meat processed products, there's no loyalty from the customers. The customers' behavior tend to choose the product based on the biggest promotions or the biggest discount as a preferred options. And also the last one is the meat productions are relatively low compared to the chicken or poultry farms because actually the limitations of the productions. Next slide, please. We see actually in the meat processed products, there's a huge gap from top 3 players. Processed meat industry are very well consolidated. Their top 3 biggest players are dominating the market up to 70 to 80% market shares in 2022. Most of them providing a wide spectrum of products from low, middle, and premium segments. And also there's a cold chain and frozen food distribution capacity become one of the issue, the harder in this area, because we know actually cold chain distributions require a huge investments and also is something that very costly, and also only big players that having such a strong cold chain distributions are enable them to strengthen their access and distribution expansions in the future. Next slide, please. Actually, this is, I think, the last slide from the market trend. We see the strength and the weakness of the Cimory. Cimory produces a very wide range of products from the proteins, from dairy, yogurt, and also the meat. They have a very wide variance of the flavor milks, which is one of the preferred from the populations, and also have a very strong and faster product innovations. But also they have a weakness with the limited coverage and lack of infrastructure, especially in the cold chain logistics in Indonesia. And then there's an opportunity that we see the digital and e-commerce create a huge potential in the future for Cimory. And the healthy lifestyle and awareness enables more market potentials. As a threat, pandemic situations and border control create a specific challenge in distributions and also very costly, especially in the cold chain products. And the wide variant of dairy milk actually create a strong customer experience compared to the similar competitors. That's actually the wrap up of the SWOT analysis from the Cimory and the market trend. Next, please. The financial valuations. Yudian, please.
Okay, thank you, Bu Emil, for the introduction. Right now, I'm going to talk about the financial and the valuation. First one is to talk about the key performance, especially the sales. As we know, sales is one of the key factors for Cimory towards the IPO. Based on the data in public exposed, the company's CAGR from 2018 to 2020 is at 31%. And for the growth between first half of 2020 to first half of 2021 is significantly increased around 115% from 735 billion in 2020 to 1.5 trillion in 2021. Yogurt milk, and premium consumer goods were all contributed to the increase in sales volume in 2021. Also, the new invention of flavors and product line has driven sales from the first half of 2020 to the first half of 2021. Okay, next. And now for the fundamental analysis, this is the financial ratio analysis. For the financial ratio analysis, we try to figure out the important ratios that the potential investor or shareholder should be looking at. Those are the liquidity ratios, activity ratios, and profitability ratios. And also, I highlighted the liquidity and the profitability in this slide, where the current ratio trends from 2018 to 2020 are kept increasing. In the first half of 2021, the company's current ratio seems to decline due to the recording of the dividends payable in or amounted to IDR 118 billion. Because if there is no dividend payable, the ratio will be at around 2.02. And also the quick ratio trends also declining with the same reasons as current ratio. And for the profitability, it should be highlighted that the trend in terms of GPM, OPM, and NPM from 2018 to first half of 2021 are kept increasing, especially in the first half of 2021. If we compare it to the 2020, the variance increase is around 7%. Okay, next. And now for the valuation framework, we have noted 6 steps to perform Cimory's valuation from the calculating beta until the conclusion part. We extracted this framework from the Prof. Roy Sembel class in week 3 to simplify our work. Okay, next. Okay, now for the capital asset pricing model and the weighted average cost of capital, it's simply I divided into 2 parts. First one is the determination of financing composition. So as you can see in the financial report, that Cimory's financing composition is 98.85% from equity, or around 4.1 trillion, and the rest is 1.15% or around 48.2 billion from the debt. This information we obtained from the prospectus and the nearest financial statement in Q3 of 2021. The 4.1 trillion came from the total share outstanding multiplied by the current stock price per December 24, 2021. And total debt around 48.2 billion came from the third quarter financial statement. And now for the capital asset pricing model and the weighted average cost of capital. As this calculation details were performed in separate Microsoft Excel file, I would like only mention the several keynotes. The total weighted average cost of capital of 6.67% came from the combination of cost of debt and cost of equity. The negative beta shows that the Cimory stock price is less volatile than the market. Okay, next. Now for the discounted cash flow valuation, based on our calculation in Microsoft Excel, the company's net present value is at 4.3 trillion based on 5 years forecast, including the terminal value. Therefore, the equity value is simply NPV plus cash minus debt, or equal to 4.2 trillion. The equity value per shares is 4.2 trillion divided by total shares outstanding, or equal to 3.5 thousands per share. So if we compare to the current price as per December 24, 2021, the valuation is undervalued with the variance of 100. Okay, I think I have finished my part in here. Next will be presented by Ariela.
Thank you, Mas Julian. Here's my term. So this is the research of post-IPO event analysis. And as you can see, Asian Development Bank, or ADB, has acquired a total of 19.4 million shares of Cimory, and after its IPO amounted to 59.9 billion, or roughly around 3.5% of the total share IPO. And IDB Investment Specialist Unlimited Company and Karen Sophie Dongers, investment specialist of ADB, also say that the master plan behind this huge investment is ADB feels like Cimory can grow significantly in the future and fulfill the local demand of milk production. And both ADB and Cimory have had a partnership before back at the beginning, before the pandemic, where ADB facilitated Cimory with a short-term loan, I think. And next slide. Yes, it's the second research about a post-IPO event analysis. And as you can see, one of the reason the company will pay out its dividend in 2022, it's that company is in the first half of 2021 already had a growth on their sales around 115% and net profit before tax around 800%. And in November 10, 2021, before IPO, the company, which is Cimory, announced that it plans to pay dividend about 30% of annual income starting from 2022, which is this year. This announcement proved that positive to its investor as the shares price maintained above IPO price as the investors are waiting for the realization of the plan. Although the waiting for the realization of the plan, December 24th failed to come back to hit highest after the IPO, that is 3,550. Based on a quarter 3 financial report, the company or Cimory has also made a reserve on its retained earning. As you can see, regarding the appropriate and the unappropriate, for your information, the amount of retained earning unappropriate was the basis allocation amount in terms of paying the dividend. Yeah, and now let's talk about Cimory stock. This is the Cimory stock performance. As we know, the company has been listed on December 6th. At the Indonesian Stock Exchange, with the offering price is 3,018. The charts below is showing the stock price movement from opening price until December 24th, 2021. And the blue line, as you can see, represent the closing price of the stock, and the red dotted line represent its moving average price. Along the period, we invest 5 lots of Cimory stock at December 6, 2021, at a price in 3,378.40 per price. At the closing in December 24, 2021, Cimory share price at 3,490. This give us a realized return or a gain about 56,800 for 5 lots of share, and as the stock price increased around 3.36%. The green rectangle, as you can see here in the chart, is showing our current profit at the moment we finalize this presentation. And to conduct this part, we assume that Cimory stock movement did relatively show stable movement, whereas the gap between the moving average line with the closing price was close to each other, as you can see in the stock performance on the left side. Next will be this by Afan.
Okay, thank you, Ila. Let me sum up about our discussion about the IPO performance. So now, to conclude about Cimory, the company starting paid up capital was around 1,872 and co-founded by Bambang Sutantio and Theodorus Cornelius. Based on the articles of association, the purpose of the company are to engage in manufacturing industry, agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, wholesale and retail trade, and the last one is transportation and warehousing. And then in terms of the IP share structure, as we already discussed, 50% of the total share after IPO, it's belong to the new shares. And then for the use of proceeds, about mostly 83% is considered as capital expenditure. And then let's move on also to the micro and macroeconomic aspect. There are already a positive trend of dairy products in Indonesia, and the dairy product of consumption is lower amongst the ASEAN countries. In the microeconomic aspect, there will be an increase in supply of dairy products, which will in turn reduce the market price. In here, we also already discussed that the company has made a conscious effort to use the triple bottom line method, such as economic, social, environmental pricing by reducing the emission of CO2. Okay, next. Okay, now let me sum up about the macroeconomic aspect. As discussed, there is a reduction in corporate income tax to 22%, which before it was 25%. And in here, we can consider that there is an increase in investment from the sale of shares, and this will result in an increase in aggregate demand. As Gita already explained, aggregate demand is C plus I plus G plus net export. And then if you can see from the top left of the graph, it shows the short run aspect of the macroeconomic, where the aggregate demand shifting to the right, which means that will increase the economic growth and maybe make a possible inflation. And then on top right, there is this long-term effect of the policy. The investment can enable a more sustainable increase in AD, but as you can see, the increase in capacity enables a sustained rise in aggregate demand without causing the inflation. And then we also already talked about the industry trend analysis based on two products, which are the dairy product and the processed meat products. In the dairy products, we mostly discuss about the huge opportunity ahead on growing demand and modern trade as main distribution channel. As we can see in the bottom, maybe can you go back just a little bit? There is a really growth in terms of the compound annual growth rate from both of the products, but the bigger proportion comes from the milk products compared to the processed meats. Okay, next, thank you. Now, continuing again from the trend analysis, we can see the drivers or the driver products is basically from COVID-19 triggered as the healthy lifestyle, and there are also increase of demand. And on the other hand, the inhibitors are the challenging cold chain distribution and local production limitation. As you can see, also Cimoro has the main competitors, which are Nestle, Ultrajaya, Frisian Flag, and Greenfield. And about the meat processed product, we also conclude that the industry trend analysis, it has the faster growth that replace fresh meat, and it has a longer shelf life. And also in terms of the drivers of the meat processed product, which are more practical and ready to cook. And also it includes the growing income and change behavior, while the inhibitors are the price vulnerability and the relatively low of meat production. And we also talk about there's a huge gap from the three players. These top three players dominating the market for up to 70 to 80% in 2020. And then for the SWOT analysis, I'm going to point out the biggest proportion in strength. There's this wide variant of dairy milk, and it is healthy products of Kempe. And the opportunities, we have the digital and e-commerce in strengthening the brand image, also the healthy lifestyle and awareness. And weakness, Cimoro has limited coverage and lack of infrastructure, and also product limitation. And the last one is threat concerning the pandemic situation and border control. Also, maybe become threat is the strong and faster in product innovation. At the bottom line, this was the summary of the financial performance. Overall, the growth of Cimori products attributed to the success of new product launches and increase in sales volume. And we can see in the terms of liquidity from 2018 to 2020 is increasing. And in terms of profitability, especially in GPM, OPM, and NPM, also kept increasing. And then next. Okay, this is about the capital asset pricing model and the weighted average cost of capital, as already discussed by Yudian. Why the WACC is low? Because the company depends on funding primarily from equity rather than debt. And also, if you can see in the top right, the enterprise value, based on our calculation of the discounted cash flow or the DCF, the current stock price is still undervalued compared to the valuation result, which make the difference for the amount of 100.35. And lastly, we also discussed about the post-IPO performance, which Cimori based on the Asian Development Bank also has acquired the total of 19.4 shares of Cimori after its IPO. And then the company also paid out dividend in 2022, and they had their growth in their sales at around 115, and the net profit before tax around 800%. And the last one, we already see and discuss about the Cimori stock price movement until the 24th of December 2021, and we can conclude that the stock movement shows there are no significant negative trends since the IPO date of Cimori stock. I think that's all for our presentation about Cimori IPO event analysis. Thank you for your attention, and hopefully you can learn something from our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you all.
Should we stop the recording? Yeah, thank you.
Take a